Well, something I've sort of predicted and said would happen, I think we're starting to see play out. I mean, I've had this theory for a while now that the Labour Party will be increasingly desperate to get into power to the point where we could see this so-called progressive alliance, whether that be formal or informally. And what I'm talking about is the likes of the Greens, particularly the Lib Dems and Labour, forming either a formal pact or perhaps an informal one. And at the end of the day, I mean, who can actually tell me any significant policy differences now between those three parties? I think they're all very, very similar. And then in their desperation, we could potentially see an alliance at the next general election with the idea that they would form a lefty coalition to oust the Conservative government. Now, I don't expect that to happen if Keir Starmer's Labour Party somehow are, 10, 15 points ahead of the Conservative Party in the polls. Given we're in a midterm government, the Tory government have taken a bit of a pasting in the media recently, and Labour can barely muster a lead in the polls. Don't rule out the possibility of, as I said, either a formal or an informal alliance of free runs, etc. Now, I believe we're already actually seeing this play out a bit, and there's more and more people talking about this on the left as well. For instance, the Financial Times reported that Labour and the Lib Dems forged an informal by-election pact to exploit the Sleeve scandal when it comes, of course, to these 2 December by-elections of Old Bexley and Sidcup and North Shropshire. Others saying that Labour and the Lib Dems relationship will strike fear in Tory hearts, that we're witnessing the start of an informal anti-Tory strategic arrangement. You had Ed Davey, of course, the Lib Dem leader, actually talk about the Lib Dems and Labour should only target seats that they can win. And as I said, more and more people are already ahead of the election saying that Keir Starmer needs to look at this so-called progressive alliance. Now, what's interesting about this is you've now got The Guardian specifically looking at the North Shropshire by-election, saying that Labour voters should back the Lib Dems, and saying that opposition parties don't have to enter formal pacts for their supporters to opt for the candidate best placed to dislodge the Tories. And I thought this line was also quite interesting. The Guardian saying, without a Lib Dem revival, Labour has no serious prospects of being in power, which is a pretty damning indictment. But I think what this all leads to ultimately, as I said, unless Labour suddenly surge and get a bulky lead in the polls over the Conservatives, which I just don't see happening, I think you are going to see more and more left-wingers pushing for this arrangement, for there to be a Labour, Lib Dem, Green. Oh, and by the way, don't rule out a possible alliance with the SNP as well in return for another referendum. That could be what you are going to see these parties team up and do, as I say, whether that be formally or informally, to defeat Boris Johnson's Conservatives. Let me know what you make of all of this in the comments below, guys. Do you think it's likely that we see this sort of alliance play out on a more formal basis or not? If you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. It really does help out the channel. Make sure you've hit subscribe and the bell. And of course, as ever, thanks so much for watching.